Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us at the provincial meeting for the BC Syrian Refugee Initiative here in Richmond, BC. My name is Tracy Weidman, and I am the acting ED at AMSA. And just to begin, to tell you a bit, AMSA is an organization that works to support other organizations across BC who serve newcomers and build culturally inclusive communities. And given this commitment to inclusion, and we want to recognize our history and current context and acknowledge that we are gathered on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territories, Indigenous territories of the Coast Salish peoples, and in particular the Musqueam First Nation. Acknowledging history and the unceded territory is a way to reflect on the interweaving of backgrounds and histories and what this all means as we work to build inclusive communities. So here we have at least registered 130 people. I think we're waiting for about 30 more persons to join us. So this is amazing. And we have over 65 organizations represented here as well. We have representatives from IRCC and the province, so we're so happy to have you join us, and Tiana Solaris will be giving opening comments soon. So this day is in part just to recognize all of the hard work in the past year and a half supporting the settlement and integration of Syrian refugee families to our province. It is because of your expertise, efforts, and dedication that BC has been able to welcome so many families. And to set the context a bit, in December 2015, IRCC funded AMSA to convene a meeting of provincial representatives of service provider organizations to prepare for the arrival of Syrian refugees to BC. So now, 1 year later, AMSA, funded by IRCC, is convening settlement and language service provider representatives for this one-day in-person meeting to review successes, challenges, and some of the promising practices that have emerged. And really, with the intention of this meeting, it was not for it just to be a static gathering of information around what's been done, but really to look at what's taken place, what can be taken forward to broaden the work that we're doing. And we also wanted to include the voices of many former Syrian refugees so that we can hear firsthand about what their experience has been resettling to BC, what challenges and successes they have faced, and what our next steps can possibly be. And we hope that what we learned today can be integrated and applied to all of the work that we do, supporting many newcomer groups. So, here we go. Again, a special thank you to our funder, IRCC, for making this day possible. And some housekeeping details. As you all know, with cell phone etiquette, I think you all know what that requires. And then just a note too that all meeting documents will be sent out electronically after the meeting, and the recordings from today's meetings will be posted on the AMSA website as well. So we are recording presentations in this room and in Westminster number 1, and the camera will be pointed only at the speakers. So if you're not wanting to be in camera, just be mindful of where that is at. And also, if you don't want your voice to be heard, you can pass any questions that you might have to an AMSA staff person or a volunteer, and they will make themselves available. They're all at the back, most of them at the back table there, so they'll be happy to take your questions on your behalf. And just a note too about travel claims, you're more than welcome to go see the AMSA staff person at the registration desk to deal with any questions that you might have. An overview of the agenda today, we have a jam-packed day. First, we'll begin with a plenary, and we'll hear from former Syrian refugee clients who will be speaking about their settlement experience in BC from varying perspectives, and that will be followed by a panel discussion and a Q&A. We'll have our coffee, a networking break, and then our breakout workshops. So if you refer to page 3 of your agenda, you can see all of that information. There's 4 different groups. There's the mental health and vicarious trauma. There's one on women's programs, one on language programs, and one on newcomer and refugee youth. So you'll see there are the rooms attached to those different breakouts, and they'll run twice during the day, so once in the morning and once in the afternoon. Participants can pick which breakout workshop they have to, whatever you'd like to attend, but that is space permitting. We were going to try and register people into each of these breakout groups, but we know that, we're all can be a bit dissident and do our own thing. So we just thought, let's just hope that with the flow of things that this will work out. If your workshop is really full, just move to another one. I can assure you so much work has been put into making each of these breakout sessions fulsome and rich for you. And there will be an AMSA staff person in each breakout workshop that will be moderating the session. So again, if you have questions that you don't want to ask out loud, you can have an AMSA staff person take your question. And then after that, we'll reconvene and share some key insights from that experience, move into lunch, and then we have a special performance by Sara Yalesh, a violinist, who will transition us into the afternoon. So the key here is that we are back in here by 1 o'clock latest, like 12:55-ish, so just be mindful of your lunch break and that we will want to start promptly at 1. Again, we'll have our workshops in the afternoon with a very short coffee break. And then we will have an opportunity to hear about some of the resources and tools and programming that's been developed under the refugee readiness teams. So from the different regions, these were funded by the province. They have some great resources and tools that you can, again, have the opportunity to hear from them. And we'll be doing that all in this room. So it's going to be a bit busy and fun, but we thought rather keep all the family together than split us out. Then we'll have our keynote speaker, Rose Tomei from Prince George, will be sharing her story with us, and we're so excited for that. So, and facilitating us through this day will be Farah Katadia. She's the new program director at AMSA, and I imagine she'll be a bit busy, but do take an opportunity to connect with her if you get a chance. She's been a huge part of shaping this day. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Tiana Solares from IRCC to give opening remarks.
Hi, good morning. That's a bit close. Thank you, Tracy. And thank you very much for having me here on behalf of IRCC to welcome you to AMSA's Syrian Refugee Initiative meeting. I'm looking forward to spending the day with all of you to hear about your experiences over the last year, to hear about the service innovations that I know have been taking place and your plans for the coming years. So just as a quick recap, I know you guys are all aware of these numbers, but between November 4th of 2015 and January 2nd of this year, in BC, we have welcomed just over 3,500 Syrian refugees. So 70% of those, roughly 2,500, were government-assisted refugees. 17%, or just shy of 600, were privately sponsored refugees, and 13%, or just shy of 500, were blended visa office referrals, so a combination of privately sponsored and government-supported. Of those arrivals, over half, 53%, were under 18, which is significant. 20% overall spoke some English, but just over 75% spoke neither official language. Most came in families of 4 to 6 people, but 30% of the government-assisted refugees came in families of 7 to 9 people, which, as you know, is unusual in Canada. 72 communities across BC have either welcomed Syrian refugees or are awaiting arrivals in the coming months. So again, that is significant as well, spread all the way across our province. So Syrian refugee arrivals in BC put immediate pressures on communities and on service providers across the province. We saw the creation of new service models, including a new temporary refugee assistance or RAP service provider in Victoria, and a hub and spoke model to welcome more government-assisted refugees in communities across the province. School boards saw increasing enrollment rates of Syrian students. That's where that statistic of 53% being under the age of 18 comes to play. So that was overnight pressure on school systems and on Swiss workers. The need for Arabic-speaking settlement workers tripled, and wraparound case management programs filled up immediately with these very vulnerable families, putting pressure on the more mainstream settlement programs. And of course, given that over 75% of the Syrian newcomers spoke no English, waitlists for link classes, particularly at the lower levels, increased. So I know you guys are all very well aware of this. So the settlement and resettlement sectors in BC responded with nothing short of grace. It was absolutely amazing. I feel really fortunate to have been able to witness the new partnerships that were developed, new ways of delivering services, and best practices from our province shared with other jurisdictions across the country. We brag about you. We know that demand for settlement services in general, especially in BC, has increased in recent years, and we continue to see more and more newcomers accessing services across the network, in addition to that Syrian influx. So it taxes an already very busy system. So thank you on our behalf, actually, for working with your program officers over the past months to ramp up over $8.5 million worth of funding very quickly in additional services beyond just the administrative work of doing all those amendments, which I know is significant. You also created over 2,400 new LINK language seats, over 100 childminding spots for those classes, and many, many additional settlement workers, youth programs, additional workshops, just to name some of the additional services that got put into place. So across the country right now, the settlement network is in the process of negotiating approximately 730 contribution agreements with over 500 service providers. And I expect that most of you in this room are involved in this process right now, and I can't wait to hear about it later. I have a feeling I might be a little bit busy, but do feel free to come ask me questions. I'm not going to answer any of them. At the same time, across the country, we're completing a review of the temporary RAP, or Refugee Assistance Program sites, such as Victoria, the hub and spoke model. And final decisions on those service models across the country, it's not just us, should be released in the coming months, what it might look like going forward. As mentioned as well at the National Settlement Council meeting, other things you can see or expect to see coming out of our shop in the near future, a definite focus on outcomes, both with regard to strengthening our own data collection through the systems that you know and love, like iCare and GCS. You don't love them? But also through continued engagement, both with sector partners and our federal, provincial partners to further augment what those outcome indicators are. So you're going to see a real focus on that. The department's going to look to continue to support program improvements and innovation, and will also continue to support the standardization and promotion of best practices, which is why we try to promote all the best practices here, because let's make our best practices national standards, shall we? But you will see this through the advancement of national projects as well, such as the Pan-Canadian Language Strategy, standardized orientation to Canada, and online community of practice. See those things. So our next steps, IRCC, is to finalize the negotiation of the settlement and resettlement agreements from CFP 2015, then to analyze the results of the settlement evaluation to inform future programming directions. Then already, and contain yourselves, we begin laying the groundwork for CFP 2020. I know. But it'll include sector consultations, National Settlement Council collaboration, and working with our other federal, provincial, and territorial partners to develop national and, very importantly, regional priorities. So as a sector, your input to these processes is crucial. One of the most positive aspects of the influx of Syrian refugees, to me anyway, is that it served as a catalyst for all of us to refine our processes, to reach out to new partners, and really just have a fresh look at the way that we've been doing our business and getting services out there. So again, I thank you for being such an important part of this process and for continuing to come together to learn from each other about how we can inform the best ways to work going forward. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Tiana. I think you scared everyone, so everyone's really awake now, which is great, so appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. My name is Farah Kotadia. As Tracy mentioned, I am the Acting Program Director at AMSA. I'll be with AMSA for the next year, and I look forward to interacting with all of you. I've met some of you already, so I look forward to meeting the rest of you throughout the day. It is my pleasure to announce our plenary speakers this morning, each of whom is a Syrian refugee client from a service provider organization in BC. They will be sharing their personal stories with us and relaying their experiences. So I would like to call them up and ask them to please take their seats here, and then we'll do introductions for each one individually. So Fadela Mohammed Jaber, Nadim Al-Rafai, Mustafa Zakrit, and Raid Abazid. If you could please come up here, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Our first speaker is Fadela Mohammed Jaber. She is a Link student from Mosaic, and she will be speaking about her personal experience and story about being a Syrian refugee. So Fadela, would you like to come in and introduce yourself? Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Fadila Mohammed Jaber. I'm from Syria. I came to Canada last year in January. About my traveling to Canada, first time when we decided to came to Canada, that day is in fact very difficult. And I was very worried about my children's future. Because a new culture, a new country, everything is strange, a new language, that's a very important thing. But we must decide for our children. First time when we came to Canada, we find everything is new and difficult. And I feel like an independent. I can't do anything by myself. So in the hotel, there is many settlement help us to find everything, to find our house, to find the supermarket, so anything. But about after 1 month or 2 months, we become relaxed and we can do almost everything. Then my children start in school. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. Yeah. And my husband and I start to learn English. My children, 3 in high school and 1 in kindergarten. I hope my children to find a good future here and they can continue their education in university. Because the university in Jordan, we lived 3 years in Jordan before we came to Canada. Very expensive. I think anyone can't make their children to study in the university. But here I am sure my children can continue their education and they will be very good people. Thank you.
Thank you, Fadela. Just so you know, once we have heard from all the speakers, we will give you all an opportunity for asking any questions. So feel free to write them down. You can pass them on to our AMSA staff if you're a little bit camera shy, or feel free to just raise your hand at the end, and they'll come around with the mics. Our next speaker is Nadim Al-Rafay. He is a youth program client from Mount Pleasant Neighborhood House.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry about my English is not perfect. So I'm Nadim Rafai. I'm from Syria. I came to Canada before 1 year ago, and I stayed in Montreal. When I came first, I stayed in Montreal for 13 days first. When I came, I was very afraid because I didn't know about this country anything, and they was speak French, and I didn't know any French. After I came to Vancouver, I stayed in the hotel in Sheraton for 4 days, and after I go to Executive Plaza, I stay there 2 months, and I go to my home. When I go to my home, I stay 1 month, and I go to the school. I know new friends there, and after I go to neighborhood house, Mount Pleasant neighborhood house. I practice English there. I know more English. We go many places, and now I'm here. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Nadeem. Our next speaker is Mustafa Zakrit. He is a privately sponsored refugee from Shuswap Settlement Services Society in Salmon Arm, BC.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk here. My name is Mustafa Zakrit, and I am from Homs. It's the middle city of Syria. I had to leave the country in 2012 at the end of the year, and I crossed the border illegally to Lebanon after I lost 2 members of the family by a bomb. And I stayed in Lebanon for 3 years in one of the biggest camps in Lebanon. You might know it's a Bekaa Valley camp. And then in 2015, I was one of the luckiest refugees in Lebanon to get a call from the Embassy of Canada in Beirut. They told me that my file has been improved and I could travel to Canada. And I moved alone, and this took place in January last year, 2016. And I was the first refugees who arrived to Salmon Arm. I stayed there for 5 months. I was alone, and now there are 9 other families who are sponsored by private sponsorship. When I moved to Canada, I had a lot of information how Canada is. It's a modern country and a lot of new stuff to learn. I knew that. One of the biggest difficulties that most of the Syrian refugees face here is the language. So I was lucky I came with some English, and I was able to communicate, make a very simple conversation with others. So the first step I took was going to the immigrant services in the city, in Salmon Arm, and they offered tutors. They organized tutors, and they helped me a lot to improve my English. And my main goal was to get into the school again, because I graduated from the railway engineering school while I was in Syria, and then I did 2 years in the environmental engineering school. And my main goal of moving to Canada, other than being safe from the war, and to go into the civil engineering program and to get a degree from that. The community has been very generous in Salmon Arm. For sure, 9 families cannot fit in the very small building in the immigrant services and organize all of this stuff. So the ESL program that is run by the college in Salmon Arm, Okanagan College, has been helping the Syrian refugees a lot. And the community has been donated a lot of money to run another program that is one of the church in Salmon Arm. And it's been now 8 months, and the money are enough to run the same program for 1 year. I got a lot of help during the year. For us as Syrians, we don't know a lot of banking. Most of the people who deal with banking are businessmen in Syria. So I had no idea what having an account in the bank is and stuff like that. So I was lucky. I was sponsored by a group of people by private sponsorship. So they took me to the bank. I opened an account, and they helped me and how the money system works here in Canada and stuff like that. And also other thing that when you go to apply for a job here, they will ask you about your English, which is very important. And this is one of the things that I had some. And the other thing, that driving license. So, yeah, do you have a driving license? If you don't have it, it's a problem. So, yeah, this is also one of the things that I got help with. So the sponsor group brought me an Arabic book to study for the exam, and they got my L, and in 4 months I will be able to apply for the road test and get a regular driving license, or the N1, which is very good. And after that, I'm just trying to talk to, to tell you about my track to get into the program, the engineering program. I got a lot of help from the immigrant services first, and then from the ESL program. And now I am in the college in Salmon Arm, doing all the science courses in the college, and I got accepted into the civil engineering program in Kelowna, and I'm very happy for that. Thank you very much. And also, the same sponsor group has helped me to brought the other family members. So my dad has joined me, 2 other brothers, sister-in-law, and a small little niece. Yeah, for me, and I believe it's for most of the Syrians who are here, yeah, Canada has given us a new life. Like being in a camp in Lebanon, I had no goal, I had no dream, I had nothing to do there, and I had no passport. Like the whole members there, they had no passport, no education, you can't go to school, you can't afford yourself. I know it's expensive here to go to the university, but at least you can work here and afford your university. But in Lebanon, we had no job, you can't work. So for me, Canada has given me a new life, to my family as well. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. Our last speaker for the plenary is Raed Abazid. He is a government-assisted refugee from the ISS of BC.
Good morning. My name is Raed. I'm also from Syria, so I'm here now. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to speak now about my experience and about what's happened with me here during the last year. First of all, please don't judge my language, so I'm still learning now. So. The first thing, my experience is a little bit different from my brothers here. The first day in Vancouver, I had to go to the hospital. So I spent my first 4 hours here in the hospital in the emergency for my daughter. So now I'm coming from, it was like a huge transition for me, coming to the unknown for me. So I spent my first 4 hours in the hospital also. So my fears getting escalated and being more afraid now what I'm going to do. But during this experience, I had something in my mind telling me, I need to hit the road. I need to go out to discover this country now. After 4 hours, I went to the motel. It was 2400 motel in Kingsway, Vancouver. I saw a lot of people there. I feel very, very welcome. So my feeling with the fearing start to disappear now. I start to enjoy my life. I spent in the motel 15 days. After that, I moved to a small basement also in Vancouver. And in this situation, for the Syrian families, it was very difficult to find a house. It's not just the Syrian problems now, it's all the Canadian problems. We are facing the same situations. For me, I got help from a lovely lady. She gave me her basement with low rent payments. After that, I started looking for a new house, not because of the place, but I wanted to feel more independent. So I started looking for a house. I went through the BC housing process. Finally, I got a house also with short time, not like other Canadians. So they spent, some of them, 10 years to get a house. So I found some help to get that house from one of my friends. Now I'm living in a house, 2 bedrooms with 1 living room. That's something was like, it's impossible for me to find such a place in a good rent. During the last year, I had to deal with ISS of BC. I had to deal with Mosaic. I had to deal with Success. And I want to get the support to thank all of them for all the help that I got from them. They helped me a lot. After I start feel more independent now, I got more ideas what work they were doing for me, like doing the government applications. It's such a problem for me now because I just changed my address. Until today, I start receiving mails in the old address, so I don't know what I should do. I have many plans in my mind to my future here. Also, I came to here for my little daughter. Now she is 14 months, and she doesn't let me sleep all the night. Because of that, I'm feeling more nervous now, so I will go back. I hoped I can improve my studies. I got a bachelor degree from Syria. I hope that I can evaluate it here and go through the education system here. Also, in the last year, I got 2 job interviews, and the funny thing was the 2 job interviews they were on the same day, so it's double stress. The first one was with Frog Hollow Neighborhood House. It's in Vancouver. I did this interview to work with them as a facilitator for also the Syrian refugees and the project called Pathways to Health. And the second interview it was with TransLink trying to do bus driver jobs. And I passed both interviews, so now I'm working part-time with Frog Hollow. But with the TransLink, I passed the first test. It was hardest. I got the panel interview. Also, it was too difficult, but I achieved them. But unfortunately, at the end, I got a obstacle or barrier, such all the Syrians now. They asked me for more papers from my back country, from Syria or from another way, to prove my driving history. First, when I received that email, I felt so sorry and so sad what I can do now, so I need to change my plans. But after 2 hours, I started thinking again, and I found for them it was the right choice to do. They need to decline me and letting me wait more 3 years to get these kind of jobs. But now, for me, I'm trying to find another jobs, trying to improve my English skills more and more. Who knows, maybe some days I will be the Prime Minister. Also, maybe my daughter will be the Foreign Minister, so we're trying to control the government. So I want to take this opportunity to, on behalf of myself and on behalf of the Syrian families whom I know in Vancouver City, to appreciate all your efforts and all what you did for us and all what you are going to do for us in the future. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Raid. And thank you to all of the speakers this morning. We just wanted to acknowledge your courage and your bravery in everything that you've gone through to come here today and to speak in front of an audience, of 130 people that you do not know. It's not easy, and especially with having English as a second language, you articulated yourselves very, very well. So thank you so much for sharing your stories. Thank you. So we will now open it up to questions. I'm sure you all have a lot of questions for the panel. So if you do, please put your hands up and our AMSA staff will come around. And again, if you don't want your voice to be on camera, you can write it down and they will read it out for you. So anyone have any questions?
Hi, Mohi. I wanted to ask you about your experience at school. What kind of classes you're taking? You're in high school, I think, right? I wonder if you could tell us a bit about that.
Okay. So now I take it ELL class, English Learning Language. Not just me, I have many Syrian friends, and not just Syrian, many country learn ELL. That's not hard and not easy for us for learning new language. So now we're still learning. And I don't think so we learn the Canadian accent because we have many, like more than 100 language in the school, and everyone speak in his accent. Yeah, Spanish speak English, Spanish accent. So now, I can't learn English accent if I don't speak with Canadian or Canadian friends. So I don't know. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Jen.
Can you hear me? Yep. Okay. This question is more for Fidela, but can be answered by any of the panelists. How are your children doing in school? Are they enjoying it? And what can you speak to about navigating the school system in Canada?
Yes, I have 4 children, 3 in high school, 17, 15, 14 years old. First time they find the school is very difficult, but after that they find the school become more comfortable and easy quickly because the teachers there help him many times and like make him relax or to become comfortable with the new language. Now they are, I think, their language better than me. My language is, I think, very broken. I am sorry. Yes, and my oldest children is a girl. She is now in grade 12, but because she must to get many subjects from grade 10 and 11. So now she came back to grade 11. And I think next year will become in grade 12. Now she is in level 4 in ELL class.
Thank you.
Can I add just something? Also, I found another problem with the education system. It's not for the all Syrian children. It's just for the children whom now 18 years now. They are not allowed to stay on the school until they being 19. So I know one girl now, she is 18 and 6 months. She is not allowed to stay there just for 4 months. After that, she needs to go to the adult schools. She found it more difficult for her to be away from the kids from her age. So it's kind of hard thing to deal with for her.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Okay. And here we can't go to the college if we can't speak English. So we have many students in the school. They are more than 18 years old, and they can't go to the college and they can't continue studying in the school. They go to the summer school. That's school just for the like older than 19 or 18 years old, and they feel so sad because we can't learn with his friends or them friends, and they study with the older than them, like 30 years old or 40 years old. That's too older than them. Yeah, really. And they can't, if they can't go to the college, how they learn English. Thank you.
Yes, please, Mr.
Talking about the same subject about school, also another point, when I moved here, I brought with me my transcript from the university in Syria. As I mentioned, I graduated from the railway engineering school, and I did 3 years in the environmental engineering school, and none of them were recognized here. So I sent them to the Okanagan College in Kelowna, and they sent it back. They said, you took the courses in Arabic, we can't give you credit for this. I sent it to the UBC as well, and they looked at it and said, you took the courses in Arabic, we can't look at this. So this is one of the most difficult part, as I needed only 1 semester to be a civil engineer, and now I'm going all the way back from the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, recognizing education here is sometimes a very difficult process.
And also, when I went to Okanagan College in Salmon Arm, they did not accept me directly. I had to face, to challenge the grade 12 exams to get into the program.
Oh, wow. Okay. Great. Any other questions?
Hello, everyone. Could you please tell us what was your biggest challenge and the biggest success since you arrived here in Canada?
Was it for any particular panelist? Okay.
All of the participants.
So your biggest challenge and your biggest success being here in Canada?
Well, the biggest challenge when I moved here, so for me, English was not the hardest part since I came was some English. But the difficult part was being alone. I was the first Syrian refugees who arrived to Salmon Arm. I was the first one who's an Arabic person in Salmon Arm, the whole city. The biggest success was, or I don't think I have challenged a lot, but the biggest success was I was able to be an interpreter for most of the Syrians who are there and get into the program again, which was my main goal. And that was a dream for me to graduate from the civil engineer and be a successful engineer here. And I appreciate every single help I got from the community in Salmon Arm and from the education system in Canada. And I hope that I will graduate from the school, I will be an engineer to help and pay back the land. Thank you.
Wow.
My biggest challenge before I came to Canada was search about place peaceful. That's the first thing. The second thing was search about my future, because when I was in Jordan, no future. Just if you go to school, no attention. The teacher not give you many information and not your best student for them. There was like the Jordanian student best from Syrian student, they not equity. And when I came to Canada, now I live in a place, safe place, and I search about my future. Now I study, and thank you so much, Canada.
For me, there's many difficulties. So, the first one, it's about equate my degree and my experience. I have bachelor degree in political science from Syria. Also, I have 3 years experience with working with non-profit organizations. So for here, it's not, they will not recognize these things. I need to start again. Also, another difficulties for me was the language. And one of the success now, I'm speaking more confident now. So I want just to speak. Another thing is I got the chance to, one of the ideas who came to my mind a lot of times, I want to give back. I want to give back to the community who's welcoming me. So I volunteered with neighborhood houses. I'm now volunteering with ISS of PC. So I think the volunteering job I'm doing now is a great success for me now. Thank you.
For me, just first thing is the language for me and for my husband, because my husband start, I think, from zero. For my children, I think is now good. Me too, but my husband is still learning. Yeah. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Sabrina?
And so this is for any of you panelists. Is anyone currently in a link class right now? And if yes, how are you finding that class?
Anyone in a link class, in an ESL language class?
Yes, I am in link class. I am in level 5 in Mosaic's school. I start in Link 5 first this year. Yeah, I find my class is, first time I found it very difficult. I like Link 4 more than Link 5. I don't know why. Yeah, but now my teacher is very good. The teachers in Mosaic School have a good process to teach the student. I see to him, thank you so much.
Thanks, right? Or Nadim, yeah?
For me, I went to Link class for 2 terms, Link 6 and Link 7. Now I'm in a different program, it's called Pathways. I found just one different things between these 2 programs. The Link is focusing more on settlements, giving us the important information that we needed in our community, while the Pathways program it's kind of academic program for advanced English.
Thank you. Nadim?
When I go to the ELL class, that was hard for me. I wasn't know any English, and when I tell somebody, student, my friend, please translate to me or translate for me, they was mad with me. They wasn't translate to me. They tell me, why you don't know any English? Okay, but I'm new. I don't know any English. Translate for me first, and after I know. That was really hard to me. But now it's very easy because I know English. I know how to speak English, and if I don't know some word, I ask about it.
Yeah, talking about the ESL program, in Salmon Arm, the ESL program is running in the college, in a small room in the college. My dad and brother and sister-in-law, they are attending the program. It's very helpful for students who are in the level, a basic level like level 1 till 5. The difficulties in the program is that there is only one teacher in the program, and she has to go like 4-3 shift to deal with the different levels they have in the college. And this short the time for the students. They have like only 2 or 3 classes a week, which is not enough. And as you know, that most of the science say that if you are learning another language, you need at least 15 hours a week. And most of the people who are attending the program, they are not taking this many hours.
Thank you. Sabrina, there was another question?
Question. So do you have any suggestions on way to improve the LINK program?
What was the question?
Ways to improve the program, the LINK program.
The ESL program.
Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned, there is only one teacher in the program, so I believe there should be another teacher. And the library they have and the materials they offer in the program, like most of the time, they give I've noticed that my dad bringing home some book with him, and he look at it and he throw it on the table. I can't read this. Like, it's very hard for a student in level 1 to read this kind of book. I believe that there must be like CD, so they can hear the language. And also, maybe there are some apps they can learn about, like downloading on their phones. Like I dealt with Duolingo app on my phone when I first started learning English, and I found it very helpful. So some of them, they don't know about this app, and for the program, as I mentioned, the library and the number of the teacher.
Great. Anyone else? Nadim, Raid, Fadela, any ideas or suggestions on improving the LINK program?
Yeah, school just 3 hours for every day. If they can make it longer, maybe 4 or 5 hours, that I think is better. Maybe we can learn more and faster.
Thank you.
I have just one suggestion for the future elections. If I will be the Prime Minister, I will not cut down from the education budgets.
Nadeem, anything? No, that's okay. That's okay. Any other questions? Yes, we have a couple of questions here.
I'd just like to make just a slight clarification. There is no link program in Salmon Arm. We have extended conversation circles, both that are funded through IRCC, through the Immigrant Services and through Oakham College, but both programs are extended conversation circles rather than formal link. We have applied often for link. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that clarification.
Hi, I'm interested in finding out about the settlement experience in a small town versus a city. And I think it was Mustafa, is that right? Yeah, Mustafa, you came to a small town and you talked about the challenges being the first one there. So I wonder if you could speak to what that challenge felt like, but also what positivity came out of it. And any of the other members on the panel, if you could speak to what's good about being in a big city, but what are the challenges as well. And I'm also curious to know if you chose the city versus the small town. Thank you.
Well, when I first got approved to move into Canada, and the time I flight, I had no idea where I was going to. I knew that I'm coming to Canada, which is a safe country, and I will find a future here for sure, but I did not know where I was going. And the time I knew that I was in Jordan's airport, I asked one of the people who work in Air Canada company, "Do you know where I'm going to?" And she looked at me and she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I don't know where I'm going to Canada." And she looked at the paper she had and she said, "You are going to Salmon Arm." I said, "What Salmon Arm is like? What is it?" And she said, "I don't know. She's from Quebec." So this is another thing. Like, if I knew that I'm coming to Salmon Arm, at least I would do research and look what Salmon Arm is. I landed in Toronto, and then I slept one night in Toronto, and then I moved to Vancouver here, and then I fly to Kamloops. I did not know who will be waiting for me in Salmon Arm, and I found a big number of people of the community there were waiting for me, as I was the first refugee, with a lot of warm words and signs. This one of the, I think it's one of the advantage I had, like being one of the first one to come into a small town. I got a lot of help, like really a lot. And then, yeah, I don't know. I would not imagine being in a big city and or being sponsored like ride by the government and looking for a house or stuff like that. I did not need to do that. They took me from the airport to my house, and they told me, "This is your house. Tomorrow, be ready. We're gonna come and take you to the bank." And I went to the bank and I opened an account. And after that, we're gonna introduce you to a teacher, English teacher. They introduced me to a teacher. Would you like to work? And they found me a job, a labor job. That was not my point. I did not want to do that, but it's one of the things that you have to do. And then they took me to the college. This is the system. This is how it works. So I think this, like being in a small city and everyone recognizes you, and this is the first Syrian who arrived to the town, and everyone say hi to you. This make a lot of difference than being in a big city where not many people know you.
Thank you. So other panelists, would you like to speak on your experience being in a big city?
There's another space for me there, I will go there. So for me, it's personal. For my personal experience in Vancouver, also the same with Mustafa. At the airport, they told me, I'm going to Vancouver. I don't care, I don't know Vancouver, so I'm just going there. I don't know the city, I know just Canada. The city is so big. It's almost like half size of Syria, so. And this is the important thing why I need to get my driver license. I need to move from another places, so. Many difficulties I got here, but it's not these difficulties just about Syrians, no. The housing problem, because there's big size, so we need to spend more time to know the places that we are going to, how we can deal with the transit, how we can go with buses, come back with sky trains, how I can come back to my house, not going to Syria. So this one was a huge difficulty for me. Many positive things happened to me here. I found many lovely people welcoming me. I went to a neighborhood. I'm the only one who was speaking Arabic there. All the neighbors they made many parties for me just to welcome me and welcome my family. So I felt again now I'm in the middle of my family now. Thank you.
Thanks. Fadela?
Yeah, on the airport, my brother phoned me, where will you go in Canada? I told him I don't know. Then I asked a person in the airport. They said to me to Vancouver. I said to my brother to Vancouver. My brother at that time had a friend. He was living in Vancouver. He said to him, "Oh, Vancouver is very beautiful. Your sister is very lucky to go there." Vancouver is very big city. First time we can't know where we can go, how we can use the transportation, how we can use the sky train. This is first time in Canada to use the sky train. I am very afraid. I will tell you a funny story. One day we went with my family to visit my husband's nephew. He is living in Langley City. I don't know why after we we arrived to the station, we took the wrong number of the bus. We find us in I don't know, maybe strange street. We get off and look at around us where we are. We didn't know, but suddenly we found a person maybe fix his car. I don't know what. I asked my husband, "Would you like to ask this person where we are?" We didn't know. We didn't need to go to your nephew. We want to go to our home. I went to this person and asked him about the address. The person, "Oh, you are in wrong place and too far from this area. Do you like to help you?" I said to him, "Thank you." Then he asked me, "Thank you, yes or no?" In our country, if anyone asks you to help him, just to say to him, "Thank you," that means yes. I said to him, "Of course, we need help." Then he took my family in his car, but together, as very narrow, and he ride us to the address, the perfect address, until near the door. Yeah, there is many helpful people in Canada.
Thank you. Nadim?
When I was in Jordan, Canada, or some people from Canada call us and tell us, "We need you come to Canada. Just make you sure if you want to come or not." We stay like 1 week, and after they call us and they actually speak Arabic with us, they tell us, "Do you want to come to Canada?" I tell them, or my mother said, "Yes, we need." And my mother asked the girls, "Where are we going?" She tell her, "We go to Vancouver." Okay, after I searched about Vancouver in the Google, I found Vancouver is the best city in the world, or I'm so happy. And after, when I came to Canada, when I moved to my home, I would like to go back to the hotel to see my friends. I rode the bus, and when I tap the card, is not working. Yeah, because that's a new card and don't have money. Now, what's wrong? What I can do? I don't speak English, nothing. The man who's drive the car, the bus, he tell me, okay, go ahead. Yeah, I stay in the bus. I'm new. I know when I was in Jordan, just tap in the window and the bus stop. Yeah. Now what I can do? Nothing. I don't see anything. Just I see the line, you know. And after I need to stop in this station. I see stop in the like stop, ready stop. I push it, and the buses stop. I tell him thank you, and I go. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your stories. Sabrina, we have a question up there.
And this is a question for any of the panelists. Do you feel welcome in your community? And the second part of that is, have you had any frustrating experience or moments with people because you are from Syria?
Well, answering the second part, I have not faced any difficulties or any part like that, but being welcomed from the community for sure. The people who were waiting for me in the airport, and the time I arrived, I started getting phone from different places, people I don't know. Are you Mustafa? I said, yes, you are invited to a party many, many times. And more than that, walking in the street, everyone's saying, hi, are you the first Syrian refugees here? I said, yes. How are you doing? How are you finding the weather here? Yeah, a lot of warm words and warm welcoming. Yeah, I appreciate everything.
Thanks. Nadi?
Sure. Yeah, her question was, do I feel I'm welcoming in my community or in Canada?
In the community that you're in.
Okay. Sure, I feel welcoming in the community when I came to Canada. When I was in the airport, everyone told me, welcome to Canada, welcome to Canada. I said, thank you, but I don't know what they mean that. Okay, like everyone was very welcoming. Really, thank you, Canada, and thank you.
Thanks. Right?
Actually, when I arrived, every day I used to hear welcome in Canada in English 100 times, in Arabic 100 times. So it's not from Arabic speakers, no. It's from Canadians themselves. They try to learn how they can say welcome in Arabic. So all the time they're trying to say ahlan wa sahlan. So that means welcome in Arabic. So for sure I felt very, very welcome here. I didn't face any issues with my community, no. Not at all, no.
Great. Thank you. Fadela?
Every time we heard welcome from Canadian people in the streets, maybe in the supermarket, in the community center, in the school, everywhere. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Other questions?
Another question is for all panelists. What advice or suggestions would you give a new refugee who would be about to come to Canada?
Bring a lot of warm clothes with you. Yeah, so if I know that before I had time that they are coming to Canada, the most important thing to start working on your English, because it's what everyone will ask you for when you start looking for a job or to get into the education system or whatever stuff you need to do. And also, I don't know, like I did not need a lot to come to Canada. Everything was prepared and for me here in Canada, and the community had prepared everything, so I did not need much.
Okay. Thank you. Nadeem, what advice would you give?
Yeah, he said like what I want to say, but before you come to Canada, just listen to English music, watch English movies, and work hard about your English, because when you come to here, you found it's so hard for you because many people translate for you, you know, and just
Okay, thank you. Right?
As my friend said, English, I will ask them to learn more English. Also, another thing, my cousins came to here last December, and before they came, they start to call me every day. What do you advise us to do? What do you want us to do? I forgot about the English, but because when we were in Jordan, we heard about Canada, so we bring like heavy coats and a lot of things to be warm here because a lot of snow. So I advise him, don't bring any heavy coats. Don't bring it at all. But unfortunately, he arrived 4th of December. So the next day, the snow started. And I don't know.
It's not usually like that. It's been a very unusual year.
I told him, but he didn't believe me.
About me, I can say for everyone you will come to Canada or think about that, I say to him, don't be worried. Don't think more as me before. Because Canada is a safe and clear country, and you will find many people will help you to settle in Canada.
Yeah, please.
Many people think all Canada like Montreal. When I come to Montreal first, the snow really high, like not under my knee. It really was hard, it really was cold. So everyone thinks like that in Jordan. I don't know why. Just search about Canada and you know about Canada.
Yeah. I just wanted to formally thank our panelists this morning for, again, sharing their very personal stories with us. I know sometimes as service providers, we get so bogged down with the day-to-day that we don't sort of see what's beyond that. And so thank you very much for giving us that face and for sharing your stories and your experiences with us. Very poignant, very humorous. And, you know, we welcome you all. So thank you again. Welcome to Canada again for the 200th time. And we would like to just present you with a token of our appreciation. So if I could just maybe ask you to come up. Okay, Nadine? Sorry, I'm doing this out of order. Thank you. Mustafa? Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you. Raid? Thank you so much. And Fadela. Thank you so much. Thank you. So in a few minutes, we're going to break for coffee. This is going to be a 30-minute break, so please take the time to network as well. After the break, you're going to go directly to the breakout workshop, and the rooms are listed on the 3rd page of your agenda. The topics are there as well. So please note that capacity for each room is 40 people. So if you want to go and maybe save a space before you head for coffee, because after 40 people, we're going to cut it off. If the session that you would like to go in is full, please choose a different session. And remember, in the afternoon, you can go to a different one as well. So it's not just the morning session. We're going to then reconvene in this room at 11:45 before we break for lunch. We want to do some, again, key insights. So meet in this room at 11:45. Does that work for everybody? Okay. Any questions? Our AMSA staff is at the back. Tracy and I are here. Please feel free. Thank you. Enjoy your coffee.